Please welcome to the stage Sam Setzi, President, ONU.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. Don't take it too long. I know you're all waiting for lunch and ready to go eat. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about how 3D visualization is revolutionizing the way that businesses operate and interact with their customers. So I'm going to make a bold statement and tell you that, I'm trying to get this to work again. There we go. I'm going to make a bold statement and tell you that in the not too distant future, all consumer products are going to be marketed, sold, serviced, and trained on using 3D visualization. And I like that Jim with Steelcase kind of showed us that virtual reality concept and how that's working into their business. And I'll show you some other examples of that sort of thing here today. So if you're anything like I was a couple years ago, you're probably asking yourself, what is 3D visualization? And traditionally, it's the process of taking 3D software and using it to make something that exists in the real world in 3D, but not quite in the real world. So the first examples in business were in CAD, or computer-aided design, and now more in CG or CGI. So an example would be this here. This looks like a photograph, but it's not. It's a 3D rendering, probably used in a print advertisement or a television advertisement somewhere. What is not 3D visualization? That. Your grandparents, or when you were kids, the 3D glasses, stereoscopic 3D movies, that's not what we're talking about. We're also not talking about this. As great as this looks, this concept of one axis spinning around, not getting the angle you really want. You're on Zappos, you're on Amazon, and you're like, if I could just see how the bottom looked, or if I could just see the other side, and you can't quite see it. That's not what we're really talking about either. So what I'm talking about is a 3D rendering or 3D experience that allows the user to interact and kind of go at their own pace, and changes the customer experience, as Justin was talking about earlier, the user experience, to allow the user to interact in their own way and engage and hopefully inform. Like in that case, see how they're exploding that apart, to be able to get more information and to be able to kind of create emotional connection with, in this case, a product or a brand. And so why is that so important? So really, when we talk about customer experience, if I can get my next slide, this is from a Forrester study, and basically this blurb says that customer experience is going to be tied to revenue growth. And it's also making a connection between emotion and saying that that's going to drive customer loyalty and spending. And what that means to me is that we have so many options today. And by the way, I'm Italian, so you're going to get a lot of this and a lot of that. Today, we have so many options out in the marketplace. So if you guys are anything like me and you're afraid to leave the house to shop, you go on Amazon and you type up whatever you're looking for, and in 2 days, you can have any one of 1,000 options delivered to you. Similarly to you brave people who leave the house, you can go to Costco, Best Buy, Target, Walmart, and you've got 100 options you can pick up at any time. So we really feel the differentiator, the difference is going to be the customer experience or the user experience with your product. And I'm not alone. I think I took a quote here from Jerry Gregoire, the CIO at Dell. He says, the customer experience is going to be the next competitive battleground. And we took a little chart here. If I can get this going. Oops, back one. All right, I don't know if any of you use Google Trends. It's where you can go on Google and type up a search, and it'll show you over time how that search has trended up. And this one shows over the past about 12 years, the concept of customer experience translated, aka user experience, is coming more and more to the forefront of people's minds and what's important. And incidentally, you know, I see those little downturns, see those little down spikes there? Those are, I looked into that. That's the time between Christmas and New Year's And it happens on all these trend charts. And I guess that's probably because most businesses shut down over Christmas and New Year's. And so with people not in the office, internet surfing is way down. Think about that for a minute. So I'm going to give you a little idea of why we think now is the time that this 3D visualization is really primed to make a difference. And I'm going to go and take a parallel back a number of years with CAD and how it got started. And in 1969, a product called Applicon came out on the market. In the first 11 years, they sold 500 units. So, roughly 44 a year, or 45 a year. That's not a lot, and that's because when they sold it, they had to sell this giant behemoth machine that had software and hardware all proprietary together. And so it didn't really scale very well. It wasn't able to reach out to the common person. So enter Autodesk, incorporated in '82. In January of 1983, they launched their popular AutoCAD product, which was available on a personal computer or a PC. And the first year, 1983, they sold 1,000 units. And within the next 7 years, they sold 300,000 copies of that software because it was no longer tethered to this giant machine. It could go out to anyone, any place, and at least anyone that had a PC, which in those years was growing exponentially. So I'm going to make that parallel with a technology called Opengl, which was released in 1992 by a company called Silicon Graphics. And what Opengl really is it was a standard written on the PC for companies to easily create in an open standard API 3D renderings, 3D graphics. So if anyone my age remembers getting on the desktop and playing Doom or Quake, the cool 3D games that came out at the time, and then over time, we've gotten to the point where games and other 3D visualizations with the robustness of CPUs and graphic processor units have gotten to the point where you can barely tell the difference between games and reality on console and PC. But we were still on console and PC. So in 2007, what happened was the iPhone was released and quickly adopted Opengl as their standard. So that kind of started to open up 3D and 3D visualization on mobile. And then in 2009, Android added support for Opengl, the iPad came out, and suddenly now you could use 3D on any mobile device. And then really important was in 2011, a technology called WebGL was released, which was the browser version of Opengl, which was a cross-browser compatible, same open architecture to create 3D on the web, and importantly, no plugins. So everybody remembers the days where you're scared to click, will you install this plugin? No more. So now your grandparents and your parents can rest easy about having to click that yes plugin button. So now we feel 3D available, everybody, mobile, web, across the board. So how we got started in this is we were at a conference and we were asked by a CAD designer, why can't I take my designs out onto a mobile device? Why do I have to take my laptop with me? And we said, well, you shouldn't have to. And so we started creating a little proof of concept to easily take CAD and put it, convert it to a mobile environment. At the same time, we started to think about how we could layer in other digital content like photos and videos and PDFs and web links and text. And we started to look at the applications where that could take us in sales and marketing and training and service. And so we started to create a proof of concept, which was our first app. And when we started to take that out and show that to people, pretty much almost to the T, the first reaction is that. It's wow, holy crap, I think are the two words we hear most of the time when they see it. We took this out to show a gentleman by the name of David Cole. He's the chairman emeritus at the Center for Automotive Research. Some of you may know him or know of him. And basically when he saw this technology, and this was talked about a little before, so this is a game changer. This is going to change the way that businesses operate. So I'm going to tell you about a few case studies The first is with that, that visual you saw earlier with a local company called Zenith Helmets. They're based in the Detroit area, and they make the safest helmet they make the safest football helmet as shown by NFL studies. That's great, but their challenge is that they've been at this only for a few years. They've got the old guard they're going up against. Shoot and Rydell and the companies that you've heard of because your parents or grandparents were wearing those helmets back when they were playing Pop Warner. So Zenith is trying to figure out a way to differentiate or show their difference in the market. So they turned to 3D visualization. They said, if we can show people how we're different on the inside, how we're keeping your kids or your players safe in this era where safety in football is becoming a concern, they figured they could get their message across. So they turned to this for both their B2B sales on a mobile device and, as you can see here, their customizer or their e-commerce platform. And they can actually explode that apart too, like you saw earlier. Another case study that we have is with a company that some of you may have heard of called Nike. We've been talking to them, and Nike spends hundreds of millions of dollars a year worldwide on samples. And what that means is that they take these samples that they create, one shoe, and they go out to show their potential retailers, do you like this shoe? And they say yes or no, and then they say, okay, we would order this many, and they go on to produce some, and then they throw some away. All the samples get thrown away, by the way. And that is over 280,000 shoes per year just in Western Europe alone. So worldwide, it's millions of these shoes. So they thought if they could virtualize their sample process onto mobile devices, they would save, obviously, a lot of money. And we also working with a company called Keen Footwear. They're out of Portland, Oregon, and as many of their counterparts in Portland, they consider themselves friends of the environment. And when we talk to Keen, it's a funny thing because it's different drivers for different types of companies. And what they've said to us, their head of innovation has said to us, this sample process from an environmental perspective is a crime against humanity, is the way he puts it. And he said, oh, by the way, we'll also save millions of dollars a year if we can virtualize these samples. So I guess whether you look at it from an environmental or a fiscal standpoint, you win both ways. Another example is in medical, a project called the Walk Again Project, which is a research study where virtual reality is used with paraplegic spinal cord injury patients to help teach them to walk again. And the concept here is that the body has forgotten the feeling of walking, and the brain kind of has forgotten too, because it hasn't done it in so long. And so they're using virtual reality to stimulate the brain into remembering what it's like to walk so it can reconnect with the body and then tell the body again how it should work. And this has been a really successful study thus far. And we looked at another one of these Google trends. The search over just the last 2 years, the interest in medical and VR has been really high. So I think you're seeing that this is going to only trend up. So the last case study I have for you is one for a company that makes these giant water filtration systems. I mean, these are big, 10 feet tall, 25 feet wide, and toss them over $25,000 to take one of these to a trade show. And for them, that means their challenge is that they can only go to one trade show a year. They can only bring one of their 6 product lines with them. And so what we proposed to them was a virtual reality solution, one where they could take it on the road as many times as they wanted, as many trade shows, as many products, in a small, scaled down footprint for lower cost. So I've got Kristen up here, and she's going to put on the headset and show you a presentation we put together, which is similar to the one for the water filtration company, but using an automobile. And I'm going to narrate as she goes through this. Hopefully we can get the video feed changed. There we go. So that's what Kristen's looking at. She's going to click around a little bit here. She can move around in that space, and she can click with that laser pointer to show you different types of media. So go ahead.
Hi, I am Armin Kabodian at ONU. Thank you for trying our new innovative technology combining interactive 3D models with virtual reality.
As you can see, we had a video in there. You can hear the sound of the car. Kristen will walk around. She'll probably hit a hot spot or two. She's transporting around the environment. She can look at the car. She can go around the car. She can even get in the car, which I'm sure she's going to do here soon. Get in there, Kristen. Don't be afraid to walk around. Yeah, walk. So it was funny, when we showed this, we were at TEDx Detroit with this, and you would see people that would lean with their elbows on the edge of the windows thing, like they're actually touching it. So it's a way to kind of take products that are larger than life and keep them to scale in this environment. So in this case, you can see she's going to explode that car apart and show you what it looks like on the inside. So you imagine any product this size or any interaction that you can visualize can be done in this sort of environment. So I think you get the idea. Again, very realistic, very easy to navigate around, and something that kind of changes the way that you can look and kind of interact with your customers and what they're doing. So you might ask, you look at that, it's very impressive. Is there anything beyond that? Is there anything beyond that world of virtual reality? And yeah, there is. I think the next thing everyone's probably hearing about is augmented reality. It's been big in the news recently. And, there's been a lot of press around the Pokemon Go thing. I'm sure she's playing here. Is there a Pikachu here? I think she's playing. Or, with the Microsoft HoloLens, which is eyewear that you can put on to what happens with augmented reality is you're mixing the real with the not real. So you've got, say, a headset on that can show you reality and then mix in other digital content such as 3D renderings or video or photos or text all at the same time. So imagine the applications for that. I think a common one people can kind of easily think about is your auto mechanic. You go to the auto mechanic and he's looking at your engine. He puts on a pair of eyewear, and he can see the engine, but he can also at the same time see the step-by-step instructions for whatever he's about to do, as opposed to taking his eye off your engine, thumbing over into a manual, or they probably do now, typing on some keyboard there with some monitor to give them the instructions. So that's really the next step. And as soon as the hardware catches up, which it's not quite there yet, we've got a HoloLens in-house, and it's great, but I think there's advancements that need to be made to get this really to where it's going to get mass adoption. But that's really the next step. So that's all we've got for today. We do have this setup is going to be out in the hallway area during the networking event. So if anyone wants to come by, you want to put on the headset, you want to ask questions, you just want to get a feel for what's going on and ask about what's coming next, we'd be glad to have you and talk to you. So thanks for hearing me out, and have a good day.